In this presentation, we will look at monopoly and the effect of monopoly conditions on the equilibrium price and output. We have here a downward sloping demand curve. The monopolist, the dominant firm in the industry, has to lower the price in order to sell more. The marginal revenue curve lies below the demand curve and diverges. This is because to sell more units, the monopolist must lower the price on the last unit and on all the units before. The marginal or extra revenue is therefore not just a lower price, but must take account of the reductions on previous units and therefore is below the demand curve. The marginal cost curve here we can see is generally a familiar tick shape, and in the short run is the inverse of the marginal product. Due to the law of diminishing returns, as successive units of a variable factor are added to a fixed, they become less productive, increasing the extra cost of production. The average cost curve we can see here as a U shape, made up in the short run of the average variable cost and the average fixed cost. Notice that the marginal cost curve crosses the average cost as its minimum point. If the extra cost of a unit is below the average, it will pull the average down. If the extra is above the average, it will pull the average up. Therefore, the marginal crosses at the minimum point of the average cost curve. The profit maximising monopolist will produce where MR equals MC. This means there is no extra profit to be gained. This gives us a price P1 and an output Q1. It also shows that abnormal profits are earned with the price above the average cost per unit. The abnormal profit is shown obviously by the shaded area on the diagram. This abnormal profit will act as an incentive for others to enter the industry, but in a monopoly, barriers to entry can prevent them coming in, and therefore the monopolist can earn abnormal profits in the long run as well as the short run. Relative to a competitive market, we can see that the price is higher than it would be and the output is lower. In a competitive market where the marginal cost curve represents supply, the industry would settle where the marginal cost is cutting the demand curve, assuming the same revenue and cost conditions. This means that the output in monopoly has been reduced to Q1, and it means that the price has been pushed up. The monopolist is using its power to push up price, increase producer surplus at the expense of consumer surplus. What we now have in monopoly is this shaded yellow area. This is an area which is a dead weight social burden triangle, represents a welfare loss. On the units Q1 to Q2, which are not produced in monopoly, the benefit to society, as shown by the demand curve, the extra benefit of these units is greater than the extra cost. Society as a whole would therefore benefit if these units were produced. From a monopolist's perspective, however, they are not worth producing, because to produce them and sell them, the price must be lowered on the last unit and on the units before, and therefore we can see that the marginal revenue is below the marginal cost curve. This is not the profit maximising condition. The profit maximising condition is to operate at Q1. In monopoly, therefore, we are likely to get a welfare loss and allocative inefficiency. The firm is producing where the price is above the extra cost of the unit Q1. We can also see that in monopoly, the firm is not producing at the minimum of the average cost curve. This means that in monopoly, the firm is productively inefficient as well as allocatively inefficient. To summarise, therefore, in the long run, in equilibrium, a monopolist may earn abnormal profits. It will be allocatively inefficient because the price will be above the marginal cost, and it will be productively inefficient as it is not producing at the minimum of the average cost curve. It is for these sorts of reasons that governments look to regulate monopoly and intervene if monopoly power seems to be emerging, perhaps through takeover or merger.